Good evening, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Okay, how are you? Please.
Good, sir. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. First of all, congratulations to you
Thank you so much, sir.
for so amazing result. Okay,
Thank you so
getting
much,
this
sir.
result. That's great. So we will talk about it definitely, the result and everything, this year's question paper. But first of all, I want to ask you, because you people are the probably the first one who attempted or given the exam twice. So how was the whole journey of that 3 months, 4 months cake bar exam day, and you attempted once, and then after 2, 3 months you attempted? How was that time period, and how did you cope up that time period?
So I believe when I was about to take the subscription, you are the one I spoke to, and you told me then and there also that first things first, your clarity about the paper is commendable. So yeah, coming to the same thing, I believe it's very difficult to crack it in the very first attempt because you need to know the question paper. So first things first, you need to crack the question paper before you have cracked the examination. Then when you cannot succeed or you haven't succeeded, of course, it's not a very good feeling, but then understand it's not a one day examination either. It's a journey. You have to study bit by bit every day and you have to keep revising because net is primarily a memory based examination. So for memory doesn't build up in one single day. You need to keep on revising things. So more you are crying, the more time you spend into your depression is the time that you are reducing or you're taking away from your preparation for the upcoming net examination. Of course, it's a setback, it breaks heart, but also at the same time, remember that it's going to happen again. It's not a judiciary examination that might come into
It-
1 or 2 years.
it's going to delay for one year or 2 years. That's not going to happen like that. But overall, I mean, as you have attempted two exams, is the June paper was easier or this paper was easier?
The June paper was very easy. For the June paper, I thought the cutoff would be very high. I was expecting a very high cutoff for the June paper because it was actually very easy. Like Keshwananda Bharati, and then that section, like the sections or the articles which everybody know, the case laws which everybody know. So when it's a basic paper, it's an easy paper. Of course, it's easy to attempt, but the cutoff is also significantly high then.
True. Absolutely. And this time also, I mean, how do you differentiate between the June paper? Because the for the paper one perspective, did it differ much, or paper two in both the cases, June or this one? You said ki easier one. How easy? I mean, in paper
So
one.
I'll break the paper into both the parts, paper one and paper two. For the June one, paper one was there, either the questions were too basic or the questions were more from the ongoing current trends, like the nuclear reactor question and all. Coming to paper two, the paper two was very like moderate, actually I'll say easy when it came to the June attempt. Coming to the second attempt, the re-examination. The paper one was there for which a lot of questions were repeated from the previous year questions as well when it comes to paper one. And the questions which were not repeated were the questions mostly from the conventions and all, but not something which was out of the box. Maths, again, the DI was easy this time, specifically for like the second attempt, the DI was easy this time. Mathematics, like the arithmetic progression and all, not much questions were there, or the like the number sequencing and all was there. So I haven't always ever focused, like I know my weak area, so I know rather than wasting time on something which even if I like spend hours and hours, let's perfect something where I can score out. So I had never really, I did not attempt maths on this, like this, the re-examination as well. And that was actually added, that's a bonus point because every time, like for the previous, the December attempt that I gave the first time, I wasted a lot of time in DI and mathematics. The second time it happened the same during the June attempt as well, around 40 minutes gone into DI. It's not wrong, but then it's 6 marks, 3 questions, 6 marks. And over here in law, and because of that, I used to miss on the like the law questions. 15 questions, 30 marks. So you need to decide which is like more worthy enough for your time. Paper two, a lot of new books were there, especially for international law, which was something new. Usually the books are asked from jurisprudence and everybody is prepared about it. But books from international law, this was something new. Then certifying authority from IT Act. A lot of questions were there from certifying authority, which is not even mentioned in the syllabus. So this was something new. And then a lot of interrelated questions were there. Like remember one question, under which section of the Evidence Act the e-documents have gained recognition. prima facie, it appears as a question of Evidence Act. However, it is not an Evidence Act question. It's
True.
mentioned there in the IT Act.
Hmm.
So yeah, these are trivia which we tend to overlook, but these are the questions which like secure marks for people who have studied.
True, true. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. And you analyzed both the papers very, very thoroughly, how you are speaking. Another thing that I want to ask you is that uh, how is the trend that you are able to see? Because you have attempted now that June 1, if we include the June 1 also. Okay, so it probably the 3 attempts you are just you have attempted. Any change that you are able to see in the question paper? Are they trying to bring something, or are they asking different kind of paper? If you analyze the previous question paper, first we talk about the paper 1, then the paper 2. I mean, are you able to see any changes in the papers currently, or not really?
No, so there's a change. I believe, especially when you talk about paper 1, higher education, teaching aptitude, research methodology, and information technology. These are paper which are more like current affairs based paper now. Like you need to know about the apps. You need to know about for IT. You need to know about all the malwares, the recent softwares that have been developed for the same, the antiviruses. Again, coming to teaching aptitude, what are the new learning management systems that have come into play? Coming to environment, whatever are the running like Kyoto Protocol and Montreal Protocol, they used to be there, but now they're focusing more on CBD, the implementation, the Ramsar conventions, which are more recent, and also
Recently.
Kigali Agreement. So it's more like you need to be aware about what are the recent developments that are happening in this way to be able to answer it. Coming like teaching aptitude and higher education together. Higher education, if let's say there are 7 questions out of or out of it, 5 questions would be from like combined NEP 2020 and the recent LMS, learning management systems. So it's not just the traditional study material that you can do the theories, all the steps of research and types of research that will do. That's not enough. Now you need to be aware about whatever the new trends that are developing in that field. Paper 2,
Yeah, in relation to paper 2. Yeah.
more and more focus on the minor laws. Often people tend to overlook the minor laws because it's like, "Theek hai na, there are 100 questions. So 20, 30 questions will be from constitution, jurisprudence. That is sufficient." That's not sufficient. And actually, I would say this, I said the last time as well, while I was about to like register with Juris Edge, and now as well. I believe minor laws are more scoring. This is
True.
the area where you can score, because in constitution you can never be sure that no matter how many case laws you study, you can never be sure that you have covered all the case laws. There'll always be one case law in the that inside the answer key where you do not know where did this case law come from. From minor laws, if you know the sections by heart,
You'll be able to answer.
90% of the job is done.
Yes, yes. So for constitution, what you stated is very correct. For constitution or the subjects like international law, the subjects is so wide, and you have to know in and around or in depth about these subjects. And there is a question you might miss from these subjects after reading so many times. But in minor laws, the scope and the width of the syllabus is so less. You go with the sections, the provisions, you understand the things, you'll be able to score 2 marks, 3 marks out of those things, and you'll be able to easily get 25 marks, and that'll be very, very scoring. That's a very good idea and how you are approaching. That's great. That's great. So there's another thing that I want to asking you, because this time PhD is also introduced. Okay, and uh, if you see the 3 patterns, or sorry, 3 cutoffs, basically, the one is the 166 and another one is the 188. JRF cutoff is much higher in comparison to this thing. And what do you say about it? Because JRF cutoff each and every year, many people are crying about that question paper बहुत tough है, that question paper is really tough and difficult. People are not able to score, but the JRF score is every time going higher and higher in comparison to it. What do you, what's your take on this thing?
So I would believe we should divide the question paper into 3 parts.
Hmm.
First part is that which everybody will be able to do. Like if you have studied, you will be able to do. I believe that is what defines the cutoff for the PhD. The second part is if you have studied thoroughly, you will be able to attempt those questions. This is what will define the cutoff for net examination. And then there is a part which everybody tends to overlook, that okay, it's just one, you can study it, but you tend to overlook because like just one question, 2 marks, just one question, 2 marks. These are the 15 questions. If you work upon, you have JRF. Because every time, the let's say 2022 June attempt, there's a paper, it was tough, it was a new pattern in the question paper. Now when students start preparing, they'll keep this in their mind. So the next paper that will happen in December will be a step above from the June attempt, because they expect that now the students know this particular pattern now, or these set of questions, so we need to think something new. And the same will happen during the next attempt as well. Whatever is tough in the previous attempt will become basic or moderate for the successive attempt.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely correct. And another thing that I want to ask you, as you have cleared the JRF, okay, so what actually differentiate between cracking a NET and cracking a JRF? Because the marks is significant. It's not like 5-10 marks. The marks is actually the cutoff is, there is a huge gap in between. And how a student or aspirant thinking about NET and cracking the JRF, how will he or she fill this particular gap of this around how many now 28 marks? 28 marks is not a small game altogether. 28 marks, how student will get more out of this particular thing?
So let's say we are studying jurisprudence. Now somebody who aims at NET will study the jurists and whatever they have said and the books. If you want JRF, there's a very high probability of for the sequence of the jurists. Most people will leave it. As a JRF aspirant, you should make the list of those jurists. It's not a one day thing. You need to go through it again and again. Make mnemonics. Like for me, to I shared it in the group, and that was a very funny mnemonic as well for the name of all the jurists. But then you have to do it. This is one question. And like this, you cover questions from every subject. Now, even if you have covered that one extra question, which everybody else has not in each subject, you already have the leverage of 10 questions, which is in your hand, that is 20 marks.
True. So you have to do certain thing, be smarter and extra to get that 28 marks, because it's in for paper 2 and paper 1 in both the cases that you were suggesting. I'm understanding, and I hope the people who are going to listen, they'll be able to understand what you were trying to say. What's your, now you always wanted to get into academia?
Yes, sir. I'm
Okay.
already pursuing my PhD. That too, I got admitted this very year from Indraprasth University. It has just been 2 months since I got enrolled in my PhD. So I
Okay.
had always wanted to be into academics. I've always aspired to be assistant professor. So yeah, it works well for me.
So that's very good, because now you are good, totally settled into that, because you also cleared JRF and everything. That's great. And how was the journey with research? Because you joined, you did well.
Extremely
How
helpful. Actually, I would suggest, I know it's not possible for everybody, but I would still suggest that you should always opt for live classes. Why? During live classes is the question is the question paper is tricky. So if you just know what is given there in the provision of emergency, that's not enough. You need to know what is the validity of that emergency proclamation when the legislative assembly has been dissolved or it's not into action, how many months from it, how many months from the very beginning, when can the president revoke the revoke the emergency. So for all this, you need to attempt live classes, because overall, when we look at it, we think that we know it. But when the question comes and we get confused, and the answer key is like that, the answer scheme, the options are very confusing. It would be 1 month, it would be 2 months from the date, and this is where the confusion comes in. So for that, you need to attempt the live classes. If it's not possible, at least for the subjects like constitution, jurisprudence, public international law, IPC. IPC, I mean, Tripti ma'am is somebody whom I remember during my papers. Like even for my this PhD entrance exam, I was like, there was section 84, and every time she used to ask questions in the class, I used to answer, they give the wrong answers. And in the question paper, it was there, section 84, and I just remembered Tripti ma'am. Then again, coming to that sequence for the June attempt, the sequence of the punishments for IT Act. I was like, ma'am, can I leave it? I cannot do it. She was like, no, you just cannot leave it. And then she sat there with me and she made mnemonics for me so that I can memorize it. So live classes for me have helped a lot. Actually, this is the difference. Like I said earlier, also for my December attempt, I had enrolled for some other institution, but those were not live classes. This time I enrolled for live classes. I believe I had a better understanding of questions, of the concepts, and so I could attempt in a better manner.
Absolutely, absolutely understanding. And another thing, last but not the least, what's the suggestion for the coming batch or coming aspirants who are going to attempt probably in the क्योंकि अभी your result is just out in this month. So exam this year probably in the month of January, February. Highly unlikely they're going to conduct it in the December because the time is very less. So for January, February, what would be your suggestions for those aspirants? For them, how
First
to go
things,
about it, how to go about for the JRF. Uh,
first things first, don't halt your preparation. Right now, you have already studied, and it's always easier to start from 50 to 100 than from 0 to 100. Coming to the second part, you should take that extra mile. For example, you have studied a law, especially the minor laws, copyright, the IT Acts, and the IPR, everything. You have studied the Act. Also, look at the first amendment and the last amendment of every Act. You never know, it might be there in the sequence and you can solve it just because if you know the first and the last. Conventions. There are many international conventions in human rights which keep on happening. Look at the recent ones, like the question during this time also, they had asked the recent ones. Or you can also look at the like enactments that the Indian Parliament has done in pursuance of these conventions. This time also, like for the attempt we had Domestic Violence Act, Child Marriage Act, all these. So these are acts of the Indian Parliament, but also these are the ones which are in pursuance of some or the other international convention. Take that extra step. This is the only, like, I would suggest by the time you're just 10 days before the examination, your entire syllabus should have been revised. And then you should only be in the rapid mode where you are just allotting 1 day to each paper. At the same time, revising the minor laws every day. Like for minor laws, you just have the sections that you have to go through as of now. So then the section should be by heart, and you should be able to like revise the minor laws, like take up one act along with one major act, and then you should be able to do it within 2-3 hours. When we repeat things again and again, that is when things get fitted in our memory, and NET is very much a memory based examination.
Absolutely. For memory-based exam, it's very important to revise again and again. Otherwise, it's very difficult to memorize the thing when it's required. You require it to memorize, right? Thank you. Thank you very much,
Thank
Chhitiz,
you,
and
sir.
all the very best for your future endeavors. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And for future, any help if you need from our side, definitely will be there.
Definitely, sir. Thank you so much.